Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Accounts Payable webinar, highlighting the AP WorkCenter, insights, and other new features coming in September 2026. Thank you for attending. For our agenda today, I'll give you a quick overview of what to expect in today's webinar and fill you in on the Cardinal Upgrade project. I'll then turn it over to Angela Ward, our fabulous training lead, who will show you the fresh new look for Cardinal Financials, walk you through the new AP WorkCenter, and preview some additional enhancements in the AP functional area. Dan Walsh, a member of our great training team, will then preview the new Financials Insights Supplier Spend Analysis. We'll provide opportunities throughout the webinar for you to ask questions, and we'll wrap up the session with some next steps to help you prepare for the upgrade. If you have agency-specific questions, please enter a help desk ticket, and someone from the Accounts Payable team will respond to your inquiry. On a similar note, if you have requests for additional enhancements beyond what you see today, please enter a help desk ticket to ensure your request is captured. These requests will then be reviewed by the Cardinal team after we go live and stabilize on the upgraded system. In this webinar, we will be featuring enhancements to the Accounts Payable functional area as a result of the Cardinal upgrade. If we don't discuss a particular Cardinal function, it is most likely unchanged as part of this upgrade. We do want you to know that agency users will not have access to a training environment to preview the upgraded system. However, there is good news. We are updating all job aids and other training materials, which will be made available to you prior to the upgrade. Retaking training won't be required, although you are certainly welcome to consider it. So before I turn it over to Angela, let me tell you a bit about the PUM Upgrade project. The Cardinal team is enhancing both FIN and HCM, upgrading these applications to the latest PeopleSoft releases. We started the project in September 2025, and we plan to go live with the upgraded system on September 8th, 2026. The upgrade includes numerous enhancements aimed at improving the user experience and overall system functionality. Our summer webinars are designed to help you become familiar with many of the new features of the upgrade. A frequent question we have received during these webinars is, will I still have access to my favorites? Generally, the answer to this question is no. Homepage personalizations and my favorites will automatically be removed as part of the upgrade because in the upgraded environment, existing personalizations and favorites may be linked to pages or menu items that no longer exist. But good news, we do plan to send a communication out to all users with instructions for recreating favorites in the upgraded system. You may want to take a screenshot of your existing personalizations and favorites just to be prepared, but we'll put all of this in our upcoming comm. And also, stay tuned for Angela's WorkCenter presentation. Honestly, with so much included in the WorkCenter, you may not even need to recreate the favorites. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Angela.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Angela Ward, and I am the lead Cardinal trainer for Accounts Payable. First, I want to start by saying thank you for taking the time to attend today's webinar to see and hear how the Cardinal upgrade will impact Accounts Payable, specifically as it relates to voucher processing. I think at the end of this webinar, you will be glad you came. In case you didn't know, Cardinal Financials overall is getting a fresh new look. Hopefully you saw some of our communications and videos that shared the out with the old and in with the new. Financials currently has a heavy text layout, lengthy menu lists with nested folders, and often involves excessive scrolls, hovers, and clicks, but the upgrade will change all of that. The Cardinal upgrade, as you can see from this image, will have a clean, modern look with simplified tile-based navigation, which puts you just one click away from many of the key tasks that you perform daily. We are also introducing WorkCenters, and you heard Dana talk about that just a moment ago. WorkCenters are designed to create a one-stop location to complete most of your daily tasks. Let's take a few moments to watch a video that will provide information about the Cardinal Financial's Work Centers. This video will feature Kate, who, like many of you, is a voucher processor. Kate will provide information using the AP Work Center, which we will review in more detail shortly. So with that said, let's watch the video.
Meet Kate. She's a voucher processor. And probably just like you, Kate has to go to a number of different pages in Cardinal to complete her daily work.
It would be so nice to have one place to go to access the tasks I need to do today. I probably get even more work done.
Guess what, Kate? We are introducing Cardinal WorkCenters, a centralized hub for completing your daily tasks. WorkCenters reduce navigation time and improve productivity. You can review action items that contain counts, so you know how many require attention. Apply flexible filters, complete tasks, and run reports and queries all in one place. Yes, you heard right, all in one place. Starting from the Cardinal Financials homepage, let's take a look at the Accounts Payable, or AP, WorkCenter tile and go through one of Kate's daily tasks.
As a voucher processor, one of my daily tasks is entering vouchers. This includes searching for the supplier, entering the voucher, and finally, monitoring my voucher and others for errors.
Let's take on those tasks, Kate. Again, start by clicking the AP WorkCenter tile. Using the navigation panel on the left, open the Links section. From here, click the Vouchers folder. Since we first need to search for suppliers, let's scroll down a bit to the Review Suppliers page to review supplier information. After completing your review, you'll be ready to enter the voucher. To do so, refer back to the Vouchers folder. Click the Regular Entry page. Add any needed information and click Save. This will submit your voucher for processing. Now, Kate can complete her last task, which is monitoring vouchers. Scroll up to My Work and click Budget Check Errors under Voucher Exceptions. As well, monitor your submitted vouchers by clicking Vouchers Submitted for Approval. Kate can also access key AP WorkCenter queries and reports. For example, she can run the Voucher on Payment Hold query to ensure no vouchers have a payment hold. And she can run the Prompt Pay report to verify her agency's vouchers are paid on time.
Thanks, narrator. WorkCenters really can bring my tasks into one workplace.
Exactly, and those benefits apply for each of Cardinal Financial's configured WorkCenters, including GL, AP, EX, AR, Billing, Procurement, Projects, and Contracts, which again are located on the Cardinal Financial's homepage and display based on your security roles. Cardinal Financial WorkCenters, your one-stop shop to get your tasks done.
As noted in the video, WorkCenters bring together items requiring attention and provides easy access to frequently used pages, queries, and reports. It is the central hub for users with the voucher processor and voucher approval roles. WorkCenters increase efficiency and save time. And who couldn't use a few extra minutes in their day? I know I could. This slide provides a screenshot of the AP WorkCenter. It includes some callouts of the different sections with a high-level description of each. This information is included for your reference. I will cover these sections in more detail when I go through my demo, which will be coming up shortly. WorkCenters contain two filtering options, which allow you to adjust the data that displays in the WorkCenter by using default and temporary filters. Default filters are available on the navigation panel, and when they are updated, they impact what displays in the WorkCenter each time you access it. Default filters remain in place until you make additional updates to them. Temporary filters are located on the transaction panel and allow you to refine data for information that displays in that panel, such as business unit, supplier, invoice number, to name a few examples. These filters do not save, so would have to be reset each time. As you heard in the video, we have created a job aid that provides more detailed information about WorkCenters, which includes details about setting up default and temporary filters, and that will be available to you upon go live. Now we will spend a few minutes reviewing some additional enhancements for vouchers that will be coming with the upgrade. Quick note here, there is no change in functionality or processing from today, nor are there any major changes to the voucher entry fields and pages that are available. And again, you will see that when I show you the demo. So let's go through and hear about a few of those new features. So on this slide, we're calling out 3 key voucher enhancements. There are 3 new additional voucher features that we'll call out. I hope that you guys will be excited about. So I'm going to talk about those in detail here in a moment. We also have a new approvals tile that's going to replace today's work list functionality for our approvers, and a new delegations tile also for our approvers, so that you can enter and manage your delegation of approval authority. So now let's take a moment to go through each of these in a little bit more detail. But I'm going to go through these features. So this first one is a copy voucher feature. As part of the upgrade, voucher processors will have the ability to create a voucher by copying a previously created voucher, including any that may be saved for later. All the fields are copied from the selected voucher, so it is critical to review before submission. This is a great way to save time when entering vouchers for the same supplier, especially those who you enter regularly, such as utilities, like a Dominion Energy or rent. This new feature is even more efficient than creating template vouchers. So stay tuned, because as part of the demo, you'll want to get to see this one in action. During my upcoming demo, I will show this feature as well. Now, this next enhancement was requested by our voucher approvers. You told us that you need all the voucher fields available to review before approving vouchers, and the current process requires you to leave the approval pages. Well, once again, you requested, we responded. We are excited to let you know that with the upgrade, approvers will now have access to view the full voucher as part of the approval process. And it's literally a click away by clicking on a new link called the Edit Voucher link. And yes, you guessed it, this will be part of my demo as well. All right, now let's talk a little bit more about some new features with approvals. Voucher approvers will have a new and improved functionality for approvals and delegations. Important note here, again, there's no change in functionality and no change in the approver's ability to view the transaction details just like you do today. With the upgrade, there'll be 2 places where you'll be able to approve transactions. One is the new approvals tile, and that replaces today's work list functionality. All transactions that go through workflow will display here, and you will be able to review and approve those transactions after accessing this tile. Transactions that do not go through workflow do not display on this page. As you see displayed on this slide, this particular approver has a mix of transactions awaiting review and approval, including journals, expenses, and vouchers. The second place that approvers will be able to review and approve transactions is through the applicable WorkCenter. This means that if you're already doing work in the AP WorkCenter, or if you have access to the GL WorkCenter and you're doing tasks there, as an approver, there's a section there for you that you can access, review, and approve those transactions. And that's great because you don't have to navigate back to the approvals tile. So the bottom line is it makes it more efficient, and you can choose whichever path works best for you. And finally, delegation. So this final feature applies again to our approvers. So this allows you, and it comes into play when you're delegating your approval authority. Delegation of approval authority will now be managed through a new delegation tile. It's available on your computer, or as you can see in this image, on your mobile device. When you click this tile, you will see 3 additional tiles as displayed here. These 3 tiles allow approvers to create and manage delegation requests. As part of my demo, we will discuss these in a little more detail, and I will demonstrate the process for creating a delegation request. So hopefully by now, you are super hyped to see the demo. So with that, I'm going to transition over. Now, before I get into my demo, a couple of things I want to make sure I stress. 3 key things I want to call out. Please note that the demonstration is being done in our training environment. You're going to notice a green cardinal bird because we're using that training environment, and it is also staged with some stage data, some mock data. So we put those things in place so that we could do the demonstration. Remember, this demo is not training. I will focus on showing you the key changes. There's no change to the actual processes. We are also going to be creating and updating job aids as applicable that will serve as your go-to resources upon go live. So those are going to give you your step-by-step. Today is not about training. It's not about me giving you a step-by-step, but it's making sure you have an idea in the system what things will look like. And then I'm going to go through some information with you. So what you're looking at right now is this is an example of the new Cardinal Financials homepage. You can see the more modern tile layout like we discussed earlier. The tiles that display will vary based on your security roles. I also want to call out here in the upper right-hand corner, this little icon looks like a compass. It is called our nav bar. When I click on the nav bar, I'm going to come down and I'm going to click on menu. And this is like the current financials with all the sub-menus and the pages and the paths that you are used to today. So even with the new tile functionality, you will still be able to use navigation to access pages, queries, and reports, just as you do today. One more thing I want to call out here before I get into the WorkCenter. We're going to have job aids and videos that will be available to you upon go live that will assist you with your transition to the new overall layout of Cardinal Financials, along with some great new features that allow you to customize some options, such as recently visited, alphabetizing the menu, adding tiles, and more. But for today, I'm focused on highlighting the key changes for vouchers. I'm going to go back over here. And I'm going to scroll down a little bit so you can see the AP WorkCenter, which we're going to get into in just a moment. So before I go into my demonstration, I want you to know that I have logged in as a voucher processor at this point. So this is what I'm going to cover in my demo. I'm going to provide an overview of the AP WorkCenter sections, pages, and folders. I'm going to show you where you can access and review denied vouchers. Remember, that was a great new feature we talked about. And then I will demonstrate the copy voucher feature. Once I've completed that, I'm going to log out and then log back in as a voucher approver. And then I'm going to provide an overview of the approvals tile, navigate to the WorkCenter, and demonstrate how to access that new amazing edit voucher link, and then close out my demo by accessing the Delegations tile and creating a delegation request. So without further ado, let's start with an overview of the AP WorkCenter. So I'm going to click the AP WorkCenter tile. And you saw a little bit of this in the video with Kate, but here is an example of the WorkCenter. Now, before I go into a little bit more detail, I do want to go over just some basic overview information and terminology that you'll hear us use with the WorkCenter. So starting here on the left, where you see these different words, these different things. We're going to talk about what they are in a moment. This is our navigation panel. And then here on the right is the transaction panel. Now, the navigation panel is made up of sections. That's these words here you see in kind of like an orangish color. And under those sections are expandable folders. And those folders contain pages. And these pages allow you to do things such as accessing items that require attention or quick access to frequently used pages, queries, and reports. The Accounts Payable WorkCenter has 6 sections. They are my work, my approvals, my insights, links, queries. I'm going to scroll down just a little bit, and reports and processes. So those are our 6 sections. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to review each of these at a high level. So what I do want you to note here, very important, the sections, folders, and pages that display are based on the user security roles. new job aid, the overview of the Cardinal Financial WorkCenters. That will be your go-to resource for WorkCenter details, including security roles that have access to specific sections, folders, and pages. So let's talk about the My Work section. The My Work section defaults as expanded when you access the WorkCenter, and it serves as a kind of to-do list. And it contains two folders. You see incomplete vouchers and voucher exceptions. Now, I want to make a quick note here. For our VDOT processors, you have an additional folder that's not pictured here, and that's match exceptions. The pages within each folder contains a control count. That's where you see these numbers for the total number of voucher transactions that fall in that specific category. In the vouchers folder, we're going to use this one here at the top as our example. You'll notice that there are 3 pages: incomplete vouchers, vouchers rejected by approver, and vouchers submitted for approval. Now, one thing again I want to stress here is that if an employee, if you have access to more than one business unit, these total numbers you see in this section will be the total for all of those business units. Now, earlier, I noted a great new feature, and that's being able to access denied vouchers without having to run the vouchers denied, not deleted query. And since we're in this section, it makes sense for me to show you that one now. Vouchers that have been denied by an approver display in this section. You're going to see me click on it now. Vouchers rejected by approvers. So when I click on that, for this particular scenario, you can see that there are 2 vouchers that display. By having this section as voucher processors, you can easily review and update these vouchers right here in the WorkCenter. So I'm not going to actually update one, but I want to walk through a few of the little steps so that you can see what's involved. So if there's a voucher that has been denied, you would click on this section, this particular page in your WorkCenter. You click on the voucher ID. I'll give that a moment to open. And as you can see, it opens up the entire voucher. So if I want to know what is the reason for the denial, I'm here on the invoice information page. I'm going to click on the summary page. On the summary page, I'm going to click the approval history link. And when the approval history link opens, I'm going to expand the comments section. So in this example, the approver is telling me that I need to update the account code. So from there, you could close out of this. You'd be able to go back to your invoice information page. And I'm just kind of scrolling down because hopefully what you're seeing is that this page looks basically exactly as it does today. Just the colors are a little bit different, but all the same fields and information is there. I could scroll down here, make that update, and save my voucher. And for my voucher processors out there, you know save equals submit. So then once I do that, that voucher would then go back through the process. So again, I'm not demonstrating the details of that today, but I'm going to just close that out so we can go back to our WorkCenter. Right at your fingertips. Let's go down to the My Approval section. All employees who have access to the AP WorkCenter will see the My Approval section, whether they have an approval role or not. However, this section will not contain any information if you are not an approver. So in this example, I'm logged in as a voucher processor. So you can see that nothing's displaying here for me. So this section will default as expanded. And when I log in as an approver later, I'm going to show you what you will see there as an approver. I do want to call your attention to this little tab that you see here, that's here on the navigation panel. I'm going to click that tab. And what it does is sometimes the pages, right, are big pages. They fill a lot of space. So that tab just basically hides the navigation panel. And I click it again to bring it back. Another little great feature. So let's go down and let's look at the My Insights section. So I'm going to click and expand the My Insights section. So when I expand this section, you see there's one folder, Financial Insights, and one page, Supplier Spend Analysis. Clicking the Supplier Spend Analysis page will open the applicable Insights page right in the WorkCenter. So we're going to give it a moment here. It's coming up. The Supplier Spend Analysis includes various supplier data and includes data and data visualizations. Dan Walsh, another member of the training team, will be coming up shortly, and he's going to provide you with some overview information as well as a demo. So stay tuned to learn more about that. We're going to move down. And the next section is the link section. Okay, give me a moment. I'll scroll down here a little bit more. This contains 3 folders: vouchers, payments, and other links. So each of these folders do contain pages. For purposes of today's demo, I'm going to expand the voucher section. Scroll down and you can see some of the pages here. So you can see things like your regular entry, you see voucher search, you see review suppliers. So let me go ahead now and click on the regular entry, because this is a page. I'm going to hide our navigation panel here for a moment. For my voucher processors out there, this is a page you use all the time. Now, nothing has changed here as far as the fields on the voucher entry page. However, you'll notice it has a 2-column layout, right? So that's the biggest difference, and a little bit of difference with the coloring. Some of the buttons are clear, but other than that, you can see these are exactly the same. And again, if I click on the add button and scroll down, you guys can see this page looks really the same fields, everything as we have today. Just a little bit of difference in some of the colors that you see. So I'm going to go back and expand back out our navigation panel. I wanted you to see that, and now let's go down, and we're going to go down to the queries section. So I'm going to close that, and we're going to expand the queries section. Give me one moment here. I'm going to close my work too, so you guys can have a better view of what I'm showing. So now there's the queries section, and the queries section has 3, again, folders: vouchers, payments, and 1099 queries. I'm going to expand the vouchers folder. And what we've done here is we've included some of the most frequently run queries. It certainly isn't all of the queries. And you can do, again, what we're showing you and what I hope you're seeing is you can do all of these things right in the WorkCenter. So when I expand this folder, if I wanted to run a query, so in this example, I'm going to say, if I wanted to run list voucher invoice lines and distributions, when I click on that page over here in the transaction panel, you can see that here's the information. I can run my query right here in the WorkCenter. Now, you may be thinking, well, Angela, that's all fine and well, but I have other queries that I use, and I don't see that you have them there. So would I have to leave the WorkCenter? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, WorkCenters have you covered. If there's a query that's not listed in one of these 3 folders that we've set up, all you would have to do is go up to the links section, come down to other links, click the query viewer, and then for AP, I'm just going to type in here V_AP and do a search. And as you can see, there you go. You can access any of the other queries, click on them, and run them again right here in the WorkCenter. Close those. I'm going to come down to our last section, which is reports/processes. Now, for the accounts payable particular WorkCenter, we don't have processes here, but we do have reports. And again, they're broken out between vouchers, payments, and suppliers. Once again, I'm going to expand the voucher folder. And if I wanted to run the voucher register report, because again, these are some of the more frequently run reports, you can see here, I can search for my run control ID. And again, I can run my report right here in the WorkCenter. Now that we've covered the WorkCenter, which I, again, hope you guys are feeling excited about, I want to now just go through and let's look at the copy voucher feature. Now I'm going to go through and say, okay, let's see how this copy voucher feature works. Well, I would come into my WorkCenter. I would expand the links section. And then under links, I would expand the vouchers folder. Under the vouchers folder, I'm going to click voucher search. And for right now, I'm going to hide my navigation panel just so we can have more room on the page. So what you can see here is there's a number of different ways I can search for the voucher I want to copy. I can use the voucher ID number, but I also can do some searches. And you see that there's some various fields located in the voucher information and the supplier details sections. For purpose of my demo, I have a particular voucher I want to copy. So I'm going to enter that voucher ID number in. So you guys give me a moment to enter that in. Now, once I've entered my voucher number, or for you, if you've entered any search criteria, I'm going to click search, scroll down, and this is the voucher because I put a specific number that meets my search criteria. If I had more open search criteria, you may see multiple vouchers displayed here. So now to copy this particular voucher, I'm going to come into the copy voucher field, click the copy voucher icon, and the copy voucher page displays in a pop-up window. All I have to do now is enter the invoice number for my new voucher. I'll just make up a number here. Enter the invoice date. And we're going to say that this invoice is dated, let's use our calendar. And we're going to say the invoice date is August 4th. Once I've entered that information, I click the copy button. Now, what you notice here is that what the system has done is it's already created the voucher. And there's a link here with that new voucher ID number. So I'm going to click that new voucher ID number. Notice that a new tab has opened. And literally, this has copied everything from my previous voucher for Pyramid Paper Company. So what I would do at this point, and this is very important, and you're going to see this in our job aid, we stress to you, when you're copying a voucher, please make sure you go in and update the applicable information. For example, if my total amount was different, I'd need to update my totals at the top, update my line total, as well as the merchandise amount field in the distribution lines. So I'd go through, make all those applicable updates, and then whenever I was ready at that point, then I'm ready to save my voucher. So when everything looks good, I just click save. And the voucher saves, and I'm able to close that window. It takes me right back here. I click on my tab to go back here, and I'm back in the WorkCenter again. Great process. And what I love about it is if you're used to using template vouchers, you know how in template vouchers, we have to give you those extra instructions. You got to be careful which fields you fill out. Well, you don't have to worry about that with copy voucher. Again, key thing we want to stress, make sure you always review the voucher before you submit it. All right. So that concludes my review right now, or my demo, if you will, the features for my voucher processors. Now I'm going to log out and I'm going to log in as an approver. So again, as a reminder, for my demo, I'm using the training environment and I'm using some staged and mock data. So I'm going to log out and give me a moment to log in as an approver. Okay, and now we are logged in as an approver. So now that we've logged in as an approver, again, I'm going to do the following. I'm going to give you an overview of the approvals tile. I'm going to navigate to the WorkCenter and demonstrate the new edit voucher link that's there for you as approvers. And then I'm going to close out my demo by accessing the Delegations tile and creating a delegation request. So I stated earlier that approvals can be completed using either the approvals tile, or if you're in a specific WorkCenter, you'd be able to do your approvals from that particular WorkCenter. So let me start first by clicking on the approvals tile. As a reminder, this is kind of a replacement, right, for today's work list functionality. So when I click on this tile, notice for this particular approver, this approver has some journals that are waiting for them. They have a couple of vouchers that are waiting approval. So they're able to see all of that information right here coming into the approvals tile. And they would simply just click on, and I'm just doing that now. You could click on a specific voucher or a journal or whatever may be here for you, depending on your approval authority. And you'd be able to walk through the process to approve it right here using the approvals tile. So if you approve things like expenses, journals, requisitions, purchase orders, in addition to vouchers, all of those would display here. What I want to do now is go back into the AP WorkCenter, and then I want to show you the great new edit voucher link. So I'm going to click the home. And now that I'm back on home, I'm going to come down to the AP WorkCenter tile. And I just want to show you now, remember we were signed in previously. I was logged in as a voucher processor. So now you can see for this particular person, I'm an approver. So now my approvals shows a folder, pending approvals, and a couple of pages there, voucher approvals and delegation of authority. So what I want to do is I'm going to click on the voucher approvals. And I want to walk through and show you this great new edit voucher functionality. So I'm going to click this first voucher. I want to go in and I want to review this particular voucher. In today's world, sometimes you guys have to click on additional links and sections, but this new edit voucher link is going to be your best friend. I click that link. Look what happens. Here is the full voucher. You requested, we responded. So now you can click on any of the tabs. Here's your summary tab, your invoice information, your payments tab. You can literally review anything that you want on that voucher. Once you've completed your review of the voucher, you can close it. There's an X here in the top. I'll close that voucher. It brings me right back here to my approval page. And once I've reviewed everything and it looks good, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to approve this voucher. When I click approve, a pop-up displays where I can put a note in if I'd like or add a comment. If you choose to use that, please do not put any personal or confidential information in this box. In this case, I don't need to put one. I'm just going to click submit. And now it tells me that that particular voucher was approved, but you may be noticing, you're like, hey, Angela, the count still says 2, even though there's only 1 voucher left. That's because when I'm in my work center, whenever I take an action, I need to refresh that view. So I'm going to come up here into my navigation panel, click the refresh, and it cleared out, but notice it goes back to my defaults. You got to kind of pay attention. I'm going to come back down to the voucher approvals. And now that number that was 2 is now 1. So that's how you can use this great new feature to go in and review and approve vouchers. Now, I do want to call your attention to this other little section here that says delegation of authority. You might see that in there and go, what is that all about? So now that we talked about that, that's a great transition. I want to leave out of the AP WorkCenter. I'm going to click my home button again. And now I'm going to take you over to the Delegations tile. So now I'm going to click on the Delegations tile. So let me talk about a couple of little things here first. Just like in the current system, approvers can delegate their approval authority to another approver, which we refer to as a delegate. An approver can only delegate approval authority to a user if they are or have access to the same business unit and have the same approval roles for the transactions that are being delegated. When a delegation request is submitted, that approver that receives that request will have an email, right? So an email will be prompted from the system to let that person know that there's a delegation request as well. What I'm going to do now is demo the process for creating a delegation request. Please note that anything else that I've demonstrated today, even as I'm demonstrating right now, we're going to have detailed job aids available to you upon go live. So I'm going to go ahead and I click the tile already, and you can see the 3 tiles that you saw displayed in the slide that we had earlier. So a quick reminder of these 3 tiles. The create delegation request, well, it's used to delegate your approval authority to another approver. The My Delegates tile is used to track and review requests that you have assigned to other approvers. And the My Delegated Authorities, the last tile, is used to view transactions delegated to you from another approver. Since we're creating a request, I'm going to click the Create Delegation Request tile. And quick reminder, this was a feature I called out earlier that you're able to do on your computer or on your mobile device. So now that this delegation request page has displayed, and one great thing I love about this, because I'm visual, look at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, all of my steps are laid out right here at the top of the page. And this is a great enhancement. So what I'll do first in step 1 is I'm going to enter my start and end dates, like when do I need to have this authority delegated. So in this example, I'm planning some vacation for next month. So I'm going to be off from September 14th. It's telling me I went too far out to the 18th, but let's see if it's going to be nice to me. 14th. So it's telling me I'm going out longer than 30 days. That's okay because I am going to go on vacation and I'm going to put my date range there. And then it has a place for a comment. This is a required field. And again, you don't want to put confidential information here, but I'm just going to put here that I'm going on vacation. That's if I can spell it correctly. So I'm going to go on vacation. Then I'm going to go up here to the right and click the next button. Now I'm on the delegates page. This is where I'm going to select who I'm going to delegate my particular task to. So I'm going to click the Add Delegate button. And you'll notice here a pop-up window that requires you to enter a user ID. Now you may be saying, well, Angela, what if I don't know the user ID? Well, if you don't know the user ID, that's perfectly fine. You can use the lookup. And when you click that lookup, you're going to have the option to search using the employee's name, the employee ID, or the email address. Only employees with the business unit approval access are going to display. For this scenario, I happen to know the ID, so I'm going to go ahead and enter it. So give me a moment to key that in. And then I'm going to click Done. And once I do that, if you notice here, now the name of that particular individual, which happens to be race car, and that individual's email address display. Couple of notes here. This information, if you'll notice, there's a field that says phone number. This information is being pulled from the user profile that's set up in Cardinal. So the phone number field will not display a value at this particular time. Please also note, on this, you'll notice that I can only select one person during this create delegation request. However, you can absolutely delegate the same transactions to more than one approver. You would just need to repeat the process that you see me walking through now. So now that I've done that, I'm going to click the next button. And you can also see there's a previous button if you have to go back. And now I'm on the transactions page. This is where I can select the transactions that I want RaceCar to handle for me. Only the transactions where RaceCar is also an approver will display here. So in my case, I just want RaceCar to handle my voucher approvals. I'm going to click the voucher approval option. If I wanted RaceCar to handle everything, I could select all. And then I'm going to click the next button. Once I select next, you can now see that there's this final page where I can review everything. If anything is wrong, I can go back and use the previous button to update it. But I've got my start date, my end date, my vacation comment, who it's being delegated to, and what specifically I'm delegating. So now I'm going to click the submit button. Notice that Cardinal now brings me back to my 3 tiles. Just really quickly, before I wrap up my demo, I want to show you that if I click on the My Delegates tile and then come in and click the Submitted tab, you can see that I've got a couple of things that I have delegated to RaceCar for a couple of different time periods. So this is where I can see and be able to track the actions on my delegation request. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes my demo of the AP WorkCenter. Let's recap some of the great things I covered, because I covered a lot. First, voucher processors can create a new voucher by copying another voucher, even if it was saved for later. Vouchers that have been denied by an approver display in the AP WorkCenter in the vouchers rejected by approver page, or on that page, I should say, not in it, but on it. And they can be viewed and updated right in the WorkCenter. There is a new approvals tile that replaces the current work list functionality for workflow transactions. So any workflow transactions will display, and approvers can actually access that tile and take care of their approvals from that tile. Also, approvers can choose to go to their applicable work center if they're already working in a work center, and they're able to complete their approvals using the My Approval section. There's the new Edit Voucher link that's available for approvers so that you now can view the full voucher as part of your review process. And finally, there's a new Delegations tile that is used by approvers to delegate approval authority. And this can be done on a computer or using your mobile device. I hope today's webinar so far and the demos create excitement about the Cardinal Upgrade. And like Kate requested and Cardinal responded, we've created work centers that help bring most of your daily tasks into one location. But wait, there's more. I will pass this back to Dana, and then Dan Walsh will come up next to provide an overview of the Insights tile and a focus specifically on the supplier spend analysis. You don't want to miss that, so stay locked in. Back to you, Dana.
Thanks, Angela. One observation I'll just reiterate from earlier, because we've got a lot of questions around this, is that if we didn't mention a particular function, it likely didn't change. So I know we're getting a lot of questions about particular functionality. And again, what Angela has demonstrated is a lot of wonderful new navigation features and a couple of really cool new features like copy voucher, but otherwise, most of the functionality itself hasn't changed. We have gotten a couple of questions we are researching before we answer, so stay tuned for those. But Julie, do you have any keyed up that you want to ask about now?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Dana. So we did have a question, and I'm going to key up our good friend Jeevan on this one. And the question is, will processors receive any notifications when their vouchers are denied by their approvers in Cardinal? Jeevan.
Yes, they do get email notifications once it's denied, indicating what the issue is with the notification.
Excellent, thanks. And we also had a question about template vouchers. So when we were talking about the copy functionality, but folks are wondering, will template vouchers still exist?
Yes, templates exist as is, and any templates created in current Cardinal will be carried forward in Palm. Copy voucher is a new functionality without going through the templates.
Excellent. All right, back to you, Dana.
Okay. I'm now going to turn it over to Dan, who will give you a look at the supplier spend analysis in Financials Insights.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dan Walsh, and I'm a member of the Cardinal training team. I'm here today to walk you through an overview of Cardinal Financial Insights, what it is, and how you can use it to make more informed decisions. So, what is Insights? Insights is an analytical tool to provide fast, interactive, and actionable data visualizations such as charts, graphs, and data tables focused on general ledger, projects, supplier spend analysis, and employee expenses information. Some key benefits include improved decision-making and analytics, which provides rich visual analytics for better understanding of data trends, intuitive visualization tools such as interactive charts and tables, allowing for easy data interpretation and trend identification, and filter capability, which allows users to easily navigate from high-level visualizations to detailed actionable records. Multiple filters are available to allow users to focus on the data elements of interest, such as agency, fund, employee, supplier. So to access Insights, let me share my screen here. We're going to log into Cardinal Financials. And from the Cardinal Financials homepage, I'm going to click on the Financials Insights tile. And once I click on that tile, 6 additional tiles display. The first 4 are related to general ledger. So we have GL trend analysis, then we have state budget to actuals. A third tile is revenue budget to actuals. And then we have project budget to actuals. And the one we're going to focus on today is the 5th one, the supplier spend analysis. And for those of you that are in the Expenses WorkCenter webinar, we'll take a look at employee expenses. Some important notes. The information on all tiles, except for the project budget to actuals tile, defaults to statewide information. All Insights dashboards, except for project to budget actuals, will contain 3 fiscal years of data. However, during July, we're doing the year-end close process. 4 years will display until the previous year is closed. The project budget to actuals tile will have complete information for the life of the project, which in many cases is more than 3 years. Also, the data is updated each night during the nightly batch process. So information that's entered in Cardinal today will be in Insights tomorrow. Now, as I mentioned, the first 4 tiles relate to general ledger, and then we have supplier spend analysis related to accounts payable and employee expenses. Users can also access insights from the GL, AP, and expenses WorkCenters under My Insights if you have access to WorkCenters. And Angela showed this during her AP WorkCenter demonstration. Today, we're going to focus specifically on the supplier spend analysis. And as with all of our training, we have a job aid that's titled Overview of Cardinal Financial Insights that will give you much more information for users to understand the tiles and the features available. And I'm going to do a demonstration explaining some of the features. The job aid will get into much more detail on that. If I click on the supplier spend analysis tile, it defaults to the current fiscal year. So we are in our training environment. So our current fiscal year is still showing 2026. And what I want to talk about is some common features and common structure layout across the dashboard or the tiles that are similar across all 6 of them. So what we're going to look at first at a very high level in the top bar is our search bar button. We have this little icon, which is a change all filters icon. We have an add filter link, and we'll talk more about this. You can see we defaulted to fiscal year 2026. As I go through this demonstration today, you're going to see with filters that I select in these different filter control boxes, additional filters will be listed underneath the search line. So then we have these different filter control boxes. And the first box is the Secretariat control. And some of the filters that we have is we have Secretariat, GL Business Unit, GL Business Unit Description. We also have some other examples of fund code, fund description, and account number, right, as well as an account description. We have another filter control box for fiscal period, where I can select either a fiscal year or I can select periods within a fiscal year. And since we're on our supplier spend analysis tile, I can look at information based on supplier classification, supplier ID, supplier name, or payment method. Some other things that I want to mention, we have the ability for each of these visualizations to export them, to sort the data on them for those that are data tables. We can include or exclude information based on what we filter on within the actual visualization itself. And we also have some toggle and other menu options. So the key thing I want to stress as we go through this demonstration is just a common structure across all the different tiles. Again, when it comes to the supplier spend analysis, there are 20 different visualizations. And we're going to take a look at a few of them. But first, I want to get into more detail on some of the features I just mentioned earlier. So on the search line, what this allows you to do is enter in search criteria based on the filters that exist within this particular tile. We also have the control filter boxes that I mentioned. And some things that I really want to stress with the control filters is there's different ways that you can select your information when you're selecting your filters. I can click the drop-down arrow here. So in this example, I'm looking at Secretariat. And if I hit the drop-down, you can see all the different secretariats that are listed. If I scroll over here under Business Unit Description for GL Business Unit, I can see a list, but it doesn't seem like a complete list of all the GL Business Unit descriptions. So another way that I could key it in is type in the word. So for example, I'm just going to type in the letters MED. So I typed in those 3 letters, and any description that may not have been listed in my dropdown will now populate with any description that has the letters MED in it. And as I continue typing, it'd be able to filter out and find specifically what I'm looking for. So that's selecting different filters within the Insights control boxes. You also have the ability to click this plus add filter. And this is another very powerful feature to where filters that are not listed on the tile itself, you'll have the ability to come in here and select particular filters. And then based on which filter you selected, you'd have an operator button and some additional fields that you may need to fill out. I do want to stress when it comes to supplier name and employee name, an employee name relates to our employee expenses tile. Those are two filters that must be entered in all capital letters. The other filters, it does not depend on the case sensitivity. You can just type it in as is. But the system's been built with capitalizing supplier name and employee name. And again, we have that all documented and noted in our job aid. What I'm going to do right now is just do a demonstration and select some filters. And then based on those filters, what we'll do is I'll show you how the data changes. The data visualizations change based on the filters selected. So let's just say I want to select Secretariat and I want to select Finance. Once I select Finance, this filter control box, these buttons at the bottom that were grayed out, Apply Changes, Cancel Changes, Clear Form, now become activated. Once I click Apply Changes, the data that was now showing it statewide is now filtered down to just showing me the Secretary of Finance. And those 20 different visualizations are now updated with the information just related to that particular secretary. So again, as I select the filters, you can see underneath the search line, I defaulted to 2026, but now I actually have another filter since I selected Finance as the secretary. That's also listed. If I were to select any other filters, they would continue to be added across. Now, when you add filters, you might go, hey, I want to go back to statewide information. What I could do is go underneath the Secretariat control box and click the X button here underneath for Finance, or underneath the search line, remove the X button related to Finance, and the data will now populate back to statewide information. We also have the ability underneath this change all filters to click the remove all. Let's say I had 15 or 20 different filters applied here. I can click remove all to remove all of them. Or again, I can click the remove all by going into each of the individual control filter boxes. Some other features that are neat with Insights is that as I scroll down, I have a pie chart here. And in the upper right-hand corner in every visualization, each of the 20, there's 3 dots. And if I click on those 3 dots, I can do a maximize, which now blows up the entire screen with that particular visualization. I go back to the right-hand corner and I can click minimize. Now, what's great when I'm looking at this pie chart, I can also hover over the different pieces of the pie chart. And as I hover over the different pieces, watch the legend and being highlighted. So if I hover over the green part of the pie chart, it's saying wire transfers. If I go underneath purple, it's now saying system check. If I come down here to blue, it's saying automated clearing. Now that's great. You can see as I'm hovering over the different pieces of the pie chart, you can see the dollar amounts. Well, I would like to see that in a data table that I could potentially export to Excel. If I come back up here to our options button, I can say inspect, and another pop-up window pops up with the data information related to that particular visualization. And in this case, it's showing me the different payment types and the dollar amounts associated with those payment types. At which time, if I wanted to download this to a CSV file and open it up Excel, I can easily do that and either put it in raw data format or in a formatted CSV file. If I just want to close that down, I can click the X button here. So that's the options button. What's also great with this is the ability to sort your information. So on this payment supplier analysis by supplier data table, the information shows me invoice paid count and invoice paid amount. Let's say I want to sort this in descending order. If I click the drop down and select descending order, you can see now my data is showing from a high dollar amount to a lower dollar amount, of which I can change that again. Say I want to sort in ascending order. It changes it from a low dollar amount. If I were to go to page 1,216, it would be my high dollar amount. Let me just change that back to sort in descending order. What you also have the ability to do is just change the column widths. So underneath supplier name, it's kind of hard to see that entire description of supplier name. Just like in Excel, if I hover between the 2 columns, you can see I have a double arrow. If I just slide it to the right, I can now see the full description for the supplier name. Another feature is the ability to focus on specific pieces as you're scrolling through the different visualizations. You can see as I hover or over the supplier ID in this particular visualization, I have a plus button and a minus button. If I just want to scroll down here and say, see for Virginia Department of Medical Assistance Services, and I just want to filter on that, watch what happens when I click that include filter. It changes all of my data now related to supplier name, Virginia Department of Medical Assistance Services. And if I scroll up to the top, underneath my search bar, you can see that supplier ID has been added. At which point I want to set it back to the way it was. I can just remove that filter by clicking the X button. And now my data populates back to statewide information. So we looked at a high level for statewide. Now let's say we want to look at a particular supplier. So if I go to the supplier name, you can see here, we've got hundreds of thousands of suppliers listed in the Accounts Payable Cardinal module. But here I'm only showing several. As I mentioned, I can start typing in the description of the supplier name. The supplier name and employee name are in all capital letters. So if I type in Xerox and click Xerox Corporation, the gray buttons, apply changes, cancel changes, clear form that were grayed out are now activated. I can click apply changes. And you can see up here underneath my search bar, Xerox Corporation has been added to the filters. If I scroll down, I can see all of my visualizations just associated for Xerox Corporation. Some other neat features with Accounts Payable, just like we demonstrated in the General Ledger module, is the ability to drill down to see additional information. So on the supplier spend by business unit, if I scroll back up here to the top and get rid of Xerox Corporation and set it back to 2026, statewide information, and scroll down, I can actually now look at for GL Business Unit 99400. If I click spend by account details, it will open up another window and it will give me the detail associated with that dollar amount. So you can see the 17,366,000 or 17 billion, sorry, we're playing with big numbers here, 17 billion. You can see that that dollar amount would then be listed in this particular drill down, at which point I also have the ability to drop this to an Excel spreadsheet or a CSV file, which again will open up in Microsoft Excel. I also have the ability to look at supplier payment details. So for agency 99400, I can click supplier payment details and it will open up another window and give me the information associated with supplier payment information, at which point I can put to an Excel spreadsheet or a CSV file. As an accountant, I love to get information into an Excel spreadsheet, at which point you could do additional visualizations and analysis on this information. And that's one way of getting your information to Excel. On a data table, we have this little drop-down arrow here. If I click that drop-down arrow, I can export this to a CSV file in either raw or formatted information. I'll click Format. And underneath my Downloads folder, the file will pop up. If I click the Open File, the spreadsheet opens up in Excel. And we had this question that was asked last week when we were discussing General Ledger. Why doesn't it give us the information with dollar signs and pretty format? And what I would recommend for those of you that are going to be using Insights quite a bit is create a template to be able to just copy and paste your information in if it's not in the format that you want to see. Or if you actually were to insert some rows here and run some totals on it to actually just verify your counts and the complete dollar amounts. Let me just make sure I checked off all the boxes of all the different features that I want to show you at a high level. Again, I looked at statewide. We looked at a particular vendor called for Xerox. Again, if I wanted just to do some additional searches on, let's say I wanted to go in and just select a couple specific agencies. So if I select GL Business Unit 11400, GL Business Unit 16100, the Apply Changes becomes active. I click that button to apply changes, and up underneath my search bar lists the particular filters. Now let's just say I want to keep agency 11400, but I want to get rid of agency 16100. I can go back here to the control box, click the X, click the apply changes, and now I'm just looking at that one particular agency instead of multiple agencies. Again, scrolling down for this particular agency, the different tiles, I can see the invoice amount approved for payment. If there were any invoice amounts pending approval, and use the information here, and then to go into Cardinal WorkCenters for AP. And if anything needed to be approved, you'd be able to just connect the dots there. So with that said, that's a very high level of what Cardinal Insights is. Again, it gives you a powerful tool to evaluate financial data and quickly and intuitively. Gives you the ability for some drill down capability that I demonstrated, the flexible filtering capability. Again, not just in the define filters on the particular tile, but by clicking this plus add filter to add additional filters. And as you go through our job aid and get more familiar with the system, you'll be able to understand how you'll be able to utilize all these different filters to find the information that you're looking for. And with that said, I'm going to hand it back over to Dana.
Thanks, Dan. Let's see if we have any questions and comments to address.
Sure, we have a couple. So did want to clarify that whenever Dan was showing the additional filters in the dashboard, we currently don't have department as a filter in the dashboard because it's at the distribution line of the voucher. But adding it to the AP dashboard is something that we could consider for responsible org potentially, which is at the voucher header. So all your queries are going to remain intact as is today, so you can still use that. But this is new, so as you start using it, and if you see something you like, or if you see something that you would like to maybe want to see differently, because this is new functionality that Oracle PeopleSoft is rolling out, and we want to take advantage of it.
Great segue into some tips Dan has.
Yeah, sure.
For financials insights.
Thanks, Dana. So I do want to just some high level things that I mentioned in the demo, and one that I didn't mention, but the use of the filters, the control filters that are defined on the tiles plus the plus add filter button, the apply changes. Anytime you select a filter, you have to click the apply changes in those different control boxes. Using the drop downs to start with, and if you don't see what you're looking for in the particular filter drop down, then what you would do is you would just start entering in either your account number, your fund number, your program number, your supplier name, whatever description. And as you're typing in, it will populate and sort and get you to what you're looking for. The ability to export the data and get it to a CSV file into an Excel spreadsheet. The one thing I didn't mention was mask data. With accounts payable and different transactions that happen within Cardinal, anytime you see a supplier name that is with 5 asterisks, it has met some criteria that has caused that information to become masked, at which point you would not be able to see the detail behind that. And with that said, I'll hand it back over.
One more question before we go.
Right now, these are statewide level insights. So it's meant to be wide open, and then that's how you can run it at the statewide level, the secretary, the business unit. But again, doesn't stop us from looking at what could we create at more of an operational agency level user insights dashboard. So again, all ears when it comes to this new functionality.
Yeah, and speaking of that, a little teaser for after
I
go
love
live.
teasers.
We likely will hold a kind of tips and tricks about insights after go live. We were thinking that would be an appropriate time after y'all have had a chance to get in there and take a look at it, and might be a better time to start talking about, hey, what questions do you have about this? All right, so we're going to turn to a mentee real quick, and you're going to think, what, did Dan used to be a teacher? Because he wants to see whether you were listening. So insights, some filters are case sensitive. Which 2 filters must be entered in all caps? I think there's a couple you can weed out immediately, but here we go. Oh, you were listening. Yay. Yeah, you got that right. Employee name and supplier name are filters that must be entered in all caps. Great. Thank you. So we hope that all of this will serve to make you feel comfortable as you start working in the system in September. Okay, so next steps. As I mentioned earlier, we have added a new upgrade page to the Cardinal website, which I would recommend you bookmark. And here you'll find links to all of our upgrade communications, some special videos and infographics, as well as recordings and presentation decks from each of the webinars and much more. So keep checking this page regularly as we continue to add resources. And please, we would really love your feedback. And we would appreciate you taking a brief survey. You can just scan this QR code on the slide to begin. Okay, that brings us to the end of today's session. On behalf of the entire Cardinal team, we want to say thank you for carving out time in your busy day to be here with us. We appreciate your engagement. It's exactly what helps us make these resources as useful as possible for you. We're excited about what's coming in September. And we hope today gave you a clearer picture of what to expect. Take care and have a great rest of your day. Bye now.